Finally, we remember a jazz legend whose influence reached far beyond the borders of his native St. Louis. Trumpeter Clark Terry died February 21, 2015 in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. He was 94. We profiled Terry in 2012. I spoke to Jazz St. Louis Executive Director Gene Dobbs Bradford about Terry's legacy as a performer and music educator.
First of all, you have this wonderful sound that he had that's unmistakable. I mean, the minute you hear him playing, you know immediately who it is. And what a legacy, too. I mean, hundreds of recordings. The only person that I can remember to play in both Duke Ellington's band and Count Basie's band, two of the greatest musical ensembles in history. Being one of the first African-American to be in the Tonight Show band, to be on a major television network. And he brought so much joy, he brought so much love to everybody. That was what he was all about. And I think that he showed that mostly in his interaction with students, and not students in necessarily in a formal way, certainly taught at the university level, but more those encounters that he would have with musicians, or the hang as we like to call it, where he would just spend time talking and listening and giving feedback and advice and guidance. There was nobody like him, and we're really going to miss him.
In an award-winning career that spans more than 60 years, Clark Terry's musicianship and versatility have been praised by all who've worked with him. His influence on younger generations of jazz players is enormous. Terry has played in and led big bands, in some cases breaking the color barrier, and he holds the record as the most recorded trumpet player ever. It's a journey that began in St. Louis.
It's always been beautiful and a very, very inviting city, and very, very great for jazz. I think mostly because the Captain Stratford steamboats used to come this way all the time from New Orleans, He had a whole flock of steamboats, and St. Louis became one of the favorite spots.
Clark Terry was born December 14th, 1920, into a big family, 8 girls and 3 boys in all. They were so poor. Terry's first instrument was a makeshift trumpet he fashioned from a pipe pulled from a junkyard. Terry's high school was Vashon, where he found kindred spirits among musical classmates.
We had our moments. We'd have our own little sessions, and corner up somewhere to start playing jazz. In the high school I went to, the Vashon High School, our principal, he couldn't stand it. That's jazz music. So he used to give us all kinds of dickens for being involved with jazz.
Terry and other young African-American trumpeters and percussionists had a fertile training ground in local drum and bugle corps. Terry played in St. Louis's Tom Powell Post Drum and Bugle Corps. After high school, Terry played with several local bands and also went out on the road. When World War II broke out, he ended up in the Navy at the Great Lakes Naval Training Center near Chicago, Illinois. Tell me what you learned musically while you were there in the Navy.
In the Navy?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I learned how to do every other musician, how to read well and how to listen good, and to learn how to associate with all sorts of players from all over the world, because we had what they referred to as the people who were waiting for an opportunity to be sent to some band around, the Navy band, around the country.
A major turning point in Terry's career followed his stint in the Navy when he played in the bands and ensembles of 2 iconic jazzmen. One was Count Basie. After Basie, Terry joined the Duke Ellington Orchestra.
Duke told me, he said, well, I can't just snatch you out of my buddy's band. So why don't you just go home to St. Louis and pretend that maybe like you were sick and stay around there for a while. And while you're waiting around, I'll put you on salary. And we're going to be coming through there on Armistice Day. I don't know what year that was. And it said, then you just might just happen to join the band while we were there.
While he was living in New York, Clark Terry made history at the National Broadcasting Company. He took a job at NBC as a staff musician, becoming the first African American to do so. He spent 10 years in the Tonight Show band.
And so he became kind of the focus of that band. He's always a very fun guy. You know, he was always a guy that just loved life. He developed this thing he calls mumbles when he was on the Tonight Show band.
Mumbles is nonsense speak that quickly became a staple in Terry's repertoire. He made a lucrative living as a recording studio artist, and that led to a successful solo career. His journey is chronicled in the autobiography Clark, published in the fall of 2011. Professor David Dempsey, that's him on the right conducting the jazz orchestra, says Terry's pioneering work is the reason jazz studies even exists. The university also houses the Clark Terry Archive. Students use it to connect to the history of the genre and to study and perform the arrangements written by the master.
When you say goodbye, sweet.
Those who know Clark Terry best call him a visionary and a national treasure.
100 years from now, and people look back and they say, well, you know, who were the great trumpet players in jazz? He would probably be in the top 10 or 15. That says a lot.